Hi, everyone. It's Lisa from Been There, Got Out, and tonight's guest has been here before. It's Asia Scarlett-Jones. She's in Pennsylvania, but she's a New York City attorney, so expect us both to talk really fast. Last time she was here, we talked about stuff with lawyers and litigation, but today we're going to talk about something that is a big issue in our community, and that is co-parenting, especially in really difficult divorce, custody battles, and the thereafter. So Asia, why don't you remind people who you are, and then I want you to answer what makes you so good at your job.
Of course, Lisa. Thank you for having me again. I promise to slow down this time. I'll
No,
try.
don't.
Um, so, I am a family law matrimonial attorney in New York City. That is New York City behind me, if you can see it. And I really emphasize mediation over litigation, and that's something my clients like. A lot of people don't like to stay in court, so we try to get in and get out as fast as we can.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that. I know sometimes it's hard to make things end sooner rather than later, especially for people in this community. And they
Absolutely.
feel like they're stuck. They're stuck. And like I said, one of the biggest things that our people are dealing with are high conflict custody battles. And when you and I were
Yeah.
talking privately, you were saying that both kids usually love both parents. And
Yeah.
even if I, as a spouse, break up with my ex, my kid still has to deal with it, and I still have to co-parent. And often in our world, we see, and this is the topic of our current book that we're working on, one parent is trying to keep the kids away from the other parent. What are your thoughts on
Yeah.
this? What have you seen with this?
Oh, absolutely. It's really disheartening because it's as if you're living through your child, right? So you have a couple, it didn't work out, like that relationship didn't work out, that's severed, right? But you sometimes have like one parent who just can't get over it. And sometimes the more one parent like walks away, the other parent, sometimes they get it. Like I do have cases to answer that question where one parent is just like, I'm not interested in engaging in banter. So they're pretty much arguing with themselves. And that dies down quick. Like it gets old really, really quickly. But for cases where the other parent responds back, like to text messages, to posts, to calls, it just keeps going. It's like you're entertaining a clown, right? Like they will just keep going on and on. So I always encourage my clients, like they'll send me the messages and I'm just like, do you believe what he or she said to be true? No. And why do you not believe that? And we'll walk through it. And if I feel like, there's some truth to it or something that my client should change, I will advise them to do so. But if there's no truth to it, then ignore it. It's like a child. Just ignore them when they throw a tantrum, really.
Do you do you feel like your clients in these situations have a really hard time though? Because I feel like the what people we work with when then they get these lies or false allegations, there's like, but I want the truth to be clear. And what if a judge sees this? And then they're gonna think that it's true, so I have to answer.
Oh, I get that all of the time. I wish people would realize actually the judge doesn't care as much as you think they do. So many years ago, I was a court attorney. So I worked directly with a judge and I had, the chance to work with other judges and meet their court attorneys. And our judges are well equipped and trained to know like some of the BS that goes on has nothing to do with the kids. And your argument really gets lost when you just put a lot of emotions into it, right? Like he did this to me. Okay, but like let's refocus onto the kids. Like mom and dad are probably great with the kids, but they're probably really bad with you. The court will pay attention to that after sometimes when it affects the kids. So you don't need to assert everything that you feel. Like the court is not going to listen to it. The court is not a referee. They're not like, going to separate you guys. Like don't fight, behave. They want you to perform like adults. And the court is not going to listen to half of the things you tell them you feel, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. So the other thing that's big in this community is domestic violence, and so people often blend domestic violence with custody. And what part of what Chris
Yeah.
and I do is say that it's two separate issues.
Two separate
So
issues.
you're going to deal with a restraining order, then it's all
Yes.
about you and your ex. But if it's about custody,
Yes.
that's very different. How do you deal with people who say, well, if my ex abused me, then they're going to abuse the children, and I need the judge to know that.
Okay, so that's a very thin line, and I would really tread with caution on that. So it is true to some extent. If you are in a relationship where there's DV, whether it's physical, verbal, right, like that is something the children can see and hear. The court will consider that. So, and I would just use an example that I think that most people think of is like if there's physical abuse and it's happening in front of the children, yeah, the court is going to care. Like I think over the years we've gotten better at that. When I say we, I mean law, like identifying the fact that this exists and you cannot sweep it under a rug because who wants to exchange children with like, their abuser? And yes, there's a high probability if you abuse one parent in front of the kids, you probably will do it to the kids, right? You lack self-control, self-awareness, and the ability to use your discernment. So there is a chance that the court will look at it and say, hey, this parent either needs, parent classes, DV class, something before they are left alone with the children. Now, the other forms of abuse that exist that, someone is entitled to fill, the court may not, stop a parent from seeing their children. Like I've seen financial abuse before and a client wanting to say, hey, he would take my money or she would take my money or, I couldn't have these things because of the control, but they were really great with the kids. The kids loved the other parent. There's no abuse towards the kids. It was more of a mom and dad situation. So it really depends. And I wouldn't just sweep everything under the rug or completely separate them. It is very case specific. So, I would say my advice and what I do is I really take a deeper dive. I ask a lot of questions, and they're tough questions, sometimes really uncomfortable questions. But we have training for that, and to know that, and also too, I've worked with a lot of DV survivors, so I know for a fact that exists, and you have to tread with caution because it's not so easy to say, oh, just walk away, just give them the kids, they can walk to the curb, and you're fine. Like it doesn't work so easily. Fair is fair for a reason.
Yeah. And when you talked about the thing with let's say financial abuse, we see
Yeah.
sometimes where people say, well, if that person's not paying child support, why should I let them see the kids?
Oh, good old child support. So it doesn't work that way. New York is very funny with child support. So that doesn't matter, right? Like we wanted to, like how dare you not, financially support kids? Like, you should. And I don't disagree, you should. But, there are, you have custody and child support. They're separate for a reason. And the court keeps it that way. In very few cases do they actually intertwine. Maybe a person is not seeing their children, but they're paying child support, which is really unheard of. It's kind of out of sight, out of mind. But then they pop back up and they're like, hey, I want to see little Johnny. And it's like, no, you didn't pay for his soccer shoes yesterday. Okay, but little Johnny loves dad or mom. Like, what do you can't stop that. Little Johnny is never going to remember what his parents paid for him or did. Like, they're going to remember the feeling and seeing that parent. So that's why the court separates it.
Yeah. One thing that you had said that kind of shocked me was that and I've been sharing it with our clients, is that let's say somebody has more custody and then the other parent doesn't show up for visits. And I think many people assume, well, if the other parent doesn't show up, like I don't need to do anything about it. But I think you said that you, as the primary, let's say, physical custodial parent, you have the burden of
Yeah.
really trying to facilitate that relationship. Even if the person doesn't show up, like they're still going to look at you. Can you get into that a little bit?
Of course, yeah, that's a big thing. It happens so often. I get a lot of cases that way. Like, oh, dad didn't show up for 5 years. Mom wasn't around, so I took the child and we're gone. Mom and dad is bad. Like, no, right? Like, the custodial parent, residential parent, physical custody, right? All of that stuff. You really get the brunt of everything. It sounds good, like, overall, but you are responsible for a lot. A lot. And a
Mhm.
lot of parents that have residential custody, those are the parents you hear this from, where they have this disdain for the other parent. They get frustrated because you have to make sure if mom or dad doesn't come around for a year and now they come back around, you still have to give them the benefit of doubt that they're going to be back for the long time, right? It's especially like the younger the kids, the less like, cognizant they are of what's happening. They just want to see the other parent. If the other parent is late habitually, yeah, it sucks, it's annoying, but you kind of have to deal with it because you have to facilitate that relationship. You can't just cut the other parent off. If you have to ensure there's access. It's so much you have to do as a residential parent, and that's in addition to actually raising the kid. You didn't even get to that part. Ensuring that the
Yeah.
homework is done. Like, you are the bad guy because you probably have the kid more than the other parent. So if you have a parent, and this happens 2 times a week, right? I only want dad to have every other weekend. He doesn't deserve to have time during the week. Okay, so what you're saying is that dad is the fun parent, right? He picks the child up on Friday, takes the kid out, eats ice cream, stays up late, brings the kid back home Sunday. Dad could do no wrong, but you have to shuffle the kids to activities, take them to school, do their homework, do all of these things because you are the residential parent and you ask to have the kids more of the time. No one wants to start out with giving the other parent just as much work as they have. They just automatically just dismiss it. Like, you don't deserve that. I think all parents deserve the the hell that comes with raising a child, right? Like staying up late at night, having to go to the doctors, missing work, having to pay for these things. And the non-custodial parent will never experience that if the residential parent has a significant more amount of time than they do.
That's really interesting. And, from being New Yorkers, we often call that like the schlepping factor.
Mhm.
Like, who does the schlepping? So you're saying everybody, both parents should have to experience the schlepping, dragging the kid to different appointments and things, like not the fun
Yep.
stuff, getting the homework done, getting them to school on time. So back
Yep.
to what you said about if a parent if a parent's not in a child's life for years and then they show up and they want to see the kid, what about situations where the kid has never known the parent? And then the parent,
Mm.
we often see in our world, the parent has gotten remarried and they come back and it's like, look at me, I
Yep.
do have this child and I'm this wonderful parent and my ex has just been keeping me.
Mhm.
But how do you help a child transition to suddenly having a parent who has never been part of their lives?
Yeah, the court just literally every time they kind of like wing the other parent in. Like, okay, so we're going to start out with FaceTime. We're going to start out with public place visits. We're going to start out with dinner visits. We're going to start out slow. Even now, we're moving into like therapeutic parenting time. We'll have that as well. Like, there are so many resources to kind of like get child reacquainted with the other parent. The court is not going to say no. So I wish like parents would understand this. The court is not going to say no unless there was abuse. So this is not for those cases. Like, totally just remove that from this conversation. Those are the exception to the rule. Now, missing parent just dropped out, for whatever reason, comes back in. We are starting to do that reunification. Even the cases of abuse and neglect, Article 10 cases, they have reunification plans. Like, so what makes you think that we're not going to do that here? And it's annoying. I represent both parents in this situation where one parent's like, listen, it didn't work out. I got tired of fighting for my kids, so I walked away because I didn't want to deal with mom or dad. The other parent is like, oh, well, he walked away, she walked away. No, now you can't come back. Think about kids 20 years from now, right? Like, we're not like, what is your child going to say to you? Well, mom or dad didn't come around for the first 5 years, so I decided it was best that you would never see him or her again. Like, that's traumatic. Like, you can't make that decision on your own. So the court steps right on in and says, okay, so mom wants to see the kid. She hasn't been around for a year. Depending on the kid's age, the court will speak to the child. And if the kid is like, okay, well, I don't mind. It will be nice to know my mom or my dad. The court's going to say, okay, so let's start out with, trips to the zoo. Let's start out with daytime visits. Go hang out with mom and dad. Get to know that other parent before they start overnights. And then overnights will come and, the residential parent won't like it. But the child is going to start to know someone else as a parent. And that's where that clash hits hard. Like,
Yeah.
dad likes to give cereal. We don't eat cereal in my house. Okay. I mean, do you have a note from the doctor that your kid can't have cereal? No, then it's just another parent doing what, like, that's where co-parenting is like difficult the most.
Yeah. Now, what about relocation? So we had said just because
Mm.
someone doesn't show up for a while, why is that such a touchy, difficult issue?
Whew. Like, so in the terms of what? If you are the residential parent, other parents aren't around, and now you want to move?
Yeah. Why not? Why shouldn't
And
no, I'm not playing myself. I'm just saying devil's advocate.
well,
Sure, if
yeah.
that's not involved or hardly any custody, like I do all the schlepping. Like, why shouldn't I be able to move? My support system is elsewhere. My
Mm.
family's there, and they hardly see them anyway. So why can't I just move?
So relocation cases suck. I'm just going to tell you, if it only sucks when we have two active parents, right? Like what you're describing is not that difficult to relocate. Like it really isn't, because there are factors. Yeah, there are factors. There are case laws where if a parent has little to no access to the child, right? Like we have some parents where they see the kids maybe twice a month, a Saturday to Sunday, right? And then maybe they're paying little to no support for the child or children, and the residential parent is paying all of the support for those kids. And the court goes through the factors, right? The best interest for that relocation. What you just said, you have family, your support system's there, better way of life, better, lower cost of living. I mean, New York City, if you move anywhere, it's still going to be cheaper than New York City. And the other parent does, in weighing the factors, the child's only seeing the other parent 2 times a month. Now, what I do in relocation cases, I always suggest for the parent that wants to leave, try to give the other parent more access, because I have cases where, dad or mom will see the kid 2, maybe 4 times a month. My suggestion is give them the summer, give them at least part of the summer. Now they have more time than they ever had before, even if you remained where you were. Holidays, it will be that parent's responsibility to get the kid back to New York, because you're the one relocating. You're just going to have to deal with it. But that's how that happens. But the court does take that very seriously. They won't force the parent to stay if they cannot remain here, if the other parent is not as active, in the child's life.
That is really, really helpful.
Hmm.
Because I think people assume like I'm never going to be able to relocate, but that's good to remember that those factors are considered.
Yeah, it's not easy because the court is making a big decision for this child. Like you're not going to see mom and dad every other weekend anymore. You may go maybe a month or two without seeing that other parent. So the court does, they come down pretty hard on that. Like, why do you want to leave? What's happening somewhere else? What's happening here, in New York? So if you have a parent and you guys are 50-50 residential, custody, whoa, that's a really, really heavy burden to get past. Why you want to tear this child away from the other parent, indefinitely.
Yeah, because I'm thinking that's part of the routine. The routine is the back and forth. So that would be a huge
Yeah,
change for somebody who hardly sees the other parent.
absolutely. Big difference, right? You see the other parent maybe 2, 3 times a month, and the residential parent has more involvement with the children.
Yeah. So what are some things
Hmm.
you have seen that cause people to sabotage their custody case or their co-parenting?
We don't have the time. Oh, I mean, let's think of recently. I don't know. You know what? Again, the emotions. And I know it's so easy for me to say that, right? Like, obviously. But, and I think I said this last time, I really do tell my clients, like, definitely get some type of mental health specialist involved. You have to. You have
Yeah.
to. It sucks. This is not fun, right? And from an attorney's point of view, I don't like to hear my clients cry. I do feel bad because, sometimes it really is unfair. But if you don't take the advice of your attorney or listen to the court when they speak to you, the person you clearly relied on to make this decision because you filed this petition, and you're not listening, then everything that we told you would happen comes to fruition. Easy.
Mm.
Um, that's just it. Sending text messages. Like, I love text messages. The first thing I tell to people is like, my clients, send me all the text messages. I read the messages and I'm like, okay, so did you read this before you sent this? Like, why would you send this to someone? Like, and then vice versa. Like, the way parents speak to one another, it's like, wow, you guys have no respect whatsoever. So you can't block, because if the other parent has the kid, then you won't ever know if there's an emergency. But, people block the other parents, talk about like family, go on social media. I actually have a social media addendum that comes with your retainer. You are not allowed to post about your case on social media. I don't want to see a screenshot at trial. of my client calling, the other parent, like, disparaging things. No. Why would you do that? You were so close to getting custody, and look, now you just showed that you can't co-parent. Um, Clients
I'm
just,
glad we
yeah,
should pause after that because that's a
yeah,
big deal. I know
absolutely.
we argue with some of our clients where they're like, yeah, but I need to put it on social media because that's my therapy.
No, get a journal.
Yeah.
Video record yourself. Use the notes in your iPhone if you have an iPhone. I don't know what Androids do. I'm sorry, I don't have Android. But there's so many other ways, and not your family. Can we just stop there for a second? Like, your family is not like your diary. Like, family members, they're the best sometimes, but when you're going through litigation and family court or like Supreme Court for a divorce, they could be the worst because they encourage you to do the most like craziest things, and they also jeopardize your case. So I like to look at like the sisters page, the mother's page, the brothers, so they could tell us how, the other parent is a scumbag. Oh yeah, so this is what we do. So you allow your family to talk bad about the other parent. So you don't have the ability to co-parent. Like, you have no discernment. Like, you can't stop yourself. Like, I didn't know they did it, but you like the picture. Is your name, underneath, you can heart, you can look at who likes your
Yeah.
picture. Is your name blah, 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 blah. Like, trial is just like for that reason. So parents do it to themselves most of the time. Like, that's not therapy. That's almost bullying in that sense. You're no better than the other parent. So that's how parents hurt themselves. So I'm constantly trying to remind them not to do that.
That is fascinating because we haven't I have never heard somebody talk about the dangers of your family saying bad things about your ex. Like, I am really going to share that because people think if I'm not doing it, then I'm good. But to hear
No,
that lawyers are also checking family members' social media, that is really, really important. Thank you, Asia. That I love, like, something
of
completely new.
course. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm
Wow.
definitely checking for during trial, especially if you like or comment on the picture. It's just as bad as you
Wow.
writing it.
Yeah, that's really, really good to know.
Hmm.
Okay, so you said that what's the C word? You said it's the number one word, number one issue in co-parenting. If you don't remember, I'll remind you. Power and
Control. Is it control? I'll take control for 400. Parents love
yeah,
control. They love to be in control. It's like a drug. It's the oddest
yep.
thing ever. I don't really know why. I always give myself as an example when I'm chatting with people and families. Like, listen, like, I'm married. I've been married for a very long time. And I know, especially as attorneys, we're type A. You have to let go. Like, you have to let go of that control. It's insane. Like, I have way too many gray hairs to be in that much control of what happens when I'm not around. And I know it's easier said than done for me, but not always. Parents are not the same. My husband is great. My boys love like playing football with dad. They might throw a football in the house, but when mom is around, that's not happening. But when dad's around, a glass might break because the kids are playing football. I can't stop my husband from seeing our children because he allows them to play football in the house and the glass broke. Like, that's that control that parents can't let go. Like, do you hear how insane that sounds? Like, I have a parent who would say, like, I don't want, mom to see the kids or dad to see the kid because, the child came back home from playing a sport and they had a cold because he didn't put a coat on the child.
Oh, we hear that one all the time.
What does
Or yeah,
that mean? Like,
they always get
okay.
sick at the other parent's house.
I mean, okay, yeah, or your kids are hard-headed. I mean, like, no one ever looks at the kids. Like, and kids, parents, when they are in that, like, fight, that lack of co-parenting, they don't trust anything the other parent says. Like, not even a little bit. Like, I see the messages, like, the kid will come home and say, oh, yeah, dad said blah, blah, blah. He said what? Text message. Like, oh, my gosh. Like, did you, like, think about that first? Like, kids don't always get it correct. And you shouldn't put kids in a position to be witnesses. So with parents, I always say, like, why do you need to control this situation? Like, what's happening right now? Why do you think something terrible is going to happen if you don't control this? And do you know, like, you cannot control another person? Like, by nature, like, anyone, you have no control over someone else. So why are you trying to control the other parent? Like, how does that work? And they are just like, what do you mean? And I'm like, you can't control what the other parent does, and you definitely can't do it with your kids. Like they send their kids out to be like these little like spies. Like I've seen it like the worst of the worst. And kids learn that trait. Like, okay, it's okay to spy on my mom or dad to report back to the other parent. So that works for like 3 years. And then parents, the kids start to turn on you because you taught them that, right? So
Mm.
that's why I say lose the control. It's hard. It hurts. It's difficult because you're probably dealing with the emotional hurt that that person put you through, like as, as a partner. But the control, you're trying to control them through the kids, is not going to work. You're going to end up like frustrating yourself.
Yeah. Now, what you said about we talked about when kids come home with a cold. One thing that our people are terrified of is if the child gets hurt while they're with them, because then their ex will so that they like a toddler gets a bump on their head and they go back and the other parent's like, look what you did. I'm going to report you. CPS. Do you see that a lot? We do.
Yes. Oh, yes. I don't know if you could tell by the eye roll. Like, oh my gosh. Like, kids are just inherently dangerous, especially boys. Like, I've never seen anything like this. So, I always ask, so on your watch, and I always say Little Johnny. I don't know where Little Johnny came from. Let's just use that. But Little Johnny never gets hurt. Little Johnny never gets sick. Nothing ever happens. Like, maybe not yet, but it will. Like, we are not perfect. Like, okay, now you go to the other parent and you're like belligerent, you're upset because something happened to little Johnny. If something ever happens again, that parent will never tell you. Never. That parent
Mm.
will be petrified to let you know. And I've watched parents do this where they call ACS, and I despise it because there are children who are legit in danger. Like they are being harmed, abused in ways that you could never imagine. And you're pulling a caseworker off of a case to go do what? To investigate little Johnny running through the house and falling and getting a boo boo, when we all know little Johnny does that at your house, and just maybe your house is a little bit more childproof, or you're like right on top of that kid. So why are we doing this? Like, what are we trying to prove? And just so parents know, you do that one too many times, especially any allegations of sexual abuse, you're losing your child. Point blank, period.
Really?
If you lie or you start just putting out allegations about abuse and none exist, you will lose your kid. Like, because so like especially sexual abuse allegations. I had a case like that before. Mom just kept alleging that the father was abusing the child sexually. So the child was repeatedly subjected to going to the doctor because she had to be examined over and over and over. A child, because the mother was very spiteful and upset that the father had moved on. I could not imagine what that's like as a little girl, to have to go to the hospital, have someone poke, and like, because of what? And then it came out that it was all a lie. Immediate change of
Oh,
custody. Like, this is so unfair to kids. We have levels, you know. Some parents, they're right in the beginning. You can catch them. This conversation will resonate. Other parents, when they're so far gone, they will have a justification for everything they do. They won't even see the forest for the trees. Those parents, unfortunately, we can't help. And sad enough, that means the kids cannot get help. The kids will live through this for the rest of their life. So
mm.
just a fair warning: don't be that, don't be that parent to make up allegations, and don't make a mountain out of a molehill, because kids are prone to accidents, like, and getting sick.
Yeah. Yeah. So, with the co-parenting stuff, you said that we often, in order to learn and grow, we need skills. And who
Yes.
has co-parenting skills? You said that you're married with kids, but like how you had said that you are co-parenting even though you're still married. How do people develop co-parenting skills, healthy co-parenting skills?
Lisa, it's going to sound crazy, but a lot of this is tied from within. That's why you have to get that help for yourself first. And this is something you're not getting from family court. I'm going to tell you now. Like, do a poll. How many people have ever walked into a courthouse and they said, wait, before we start, does anyone have a therapist? Is everyone good on that end? Is everyone doing well? How's everyone doing today? Like, are you feeling okay? Like, how's work? Are you stressed? No one cares. Like, we're not there for that. And that's a huge component that's missing from family court for families, right? So it starts from within and recognizing things within yourself you may want to address. Like, what kind of person are you? Like, what makes you anxious? What makes you sad? How can you really, understand that you are only in control of yourself and not someone else? You are not perfect. And these are things to learn about co-parenting, right? You're not perfect. You cannot control the other parent. Do not catastrophize situations because we do that all the time. What if this and what if that and what if this? Like, I don't know, but it didn't happen, right? Also, too, a lot of people see the glass as half empty instead of half full. People confuse how mom or dad were to them as a partner, an intimate partner, and not how they are as a parent. Um, and all of those things put together, Lisa, really resolves that issue of co-parenting, right? Like, if you start to kind of write that down, like, I'm a person who loves to be on time, and when mom or dad, they're late, it makes me feel like they don't care about our kids. How did we go from A to B to C, right? Work through that. No one's working through that. That's why you hear, your clients will come to you. I spent $20,000 on an attorney and I didn't get anything. Well, let me ask you, 100,000, right? I mean, I hope, I was hoping it would be that high, but, like, how? Oh, because I told the lawyer I want to do this. But did someone ever explain to you we actually can't do that? Like, that's not a basis in the law. That's a personal thing. Like, this is not personal court. Like, you know what I mean? And let's start to kind of be realistic. Like, yeah, it's annoying. It sucks. And I know you are trying to be, like, proactive and not reactive, but you want to change something that you can't change. It hasn't happened yet. And some parents are just that damn good that although the other parent's annoying, they're always there to catch the kids before they fall. The one example I can give is maybe someone being late to school, right? Like that one parent, when it's their parenting time, the kids are never on time. It's frustrating, absolutely. But at the same time, your kids are straight A students. They haven't failed a class. They are, scholars. And you want to do what? Like, what do you want us to do? The court is going to see exactly that other side. And they're going to rule that, yeah, it sucks that they're late, but your kids, I mean, they can't get any better. Why are you going to court? Why are we dragging the kids into court and getting attorneys for them? Why do they have to be subjected to it when they're doing well? So that's co-parenting. How did you get from A to B to C? Like, what's making you get to C?
Yeah. And I think what you just noted too is, and I see this a lot with our people, is like, they're not really sure what the goal is.
Right.
And
oh
then
my gosh.
you want to go to court, and then it's like, okay, well, what do you want to happen? They say, I want the judge to understand what kind of person that person is. Okay.
Never
So
happening.
first of all, that's not going to happen.
Never gonna happen. Never gonna happen.
But like, what do you want the judge to then do?
Right. Stop the kids from seeing the other parent forever.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
It's not. Like, you're going to have to learn to deal with it. You're going to have to learn that you have to move on in life. I always, like the last batch of cases I just finished, I said to my clients, you deserve happiness. Who told you that you didn't deserve happiness in life? This is not happy. You are not happy. When you call me, yeah, I know we laugh and, sometimes we cry and other times we're like, we have this rapport. I enjoy speaking to you, but I would rather not do that with you being my client. That means you're still unhappy somewhere. You're happy now for these few minutes, but when you're home at night, are you happy? You can't be happy. You can't. And, what is your goal? And it's okay if it changes, slightly. You should change if things happen in court and something changes, like you get a decision on a motion or, something is thrown into the case new, you should reevaluate. But if your goal is, hey, I really want to address legal custody because I'm having a hard time making decisions with the other parent, we're going to go and break that down. What does that look like? And my clients and people just in general will try to really convince me, like, you don't understand that. And I understand that you feel that way. But let me give you the other side of that story, because if I were representing the other parent, this is what I would argue. And then it's like
Mm-hmm.
jolting, like, what? Yeah, because that's how lawyers, that's what we have to do. I'm not the lawyer that's going to feed you that like crap. And that's how you end up paying $20,000, $30,000 for an attorney because no one ever told you that you couldn't do that. And the court would also listen to the other side. So it's not our job to get to know the other parent. It's not my job. I would never get to know the other parent the way you do. It's impossible. I can't even know my clients in that capacity. So we don't have the time. So why are we going to spend 5 years uh, trying to figure that out instead of just getting it done?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. All right. So Asia, how can people find you and what do you offer besides just lawyering? Because I feel like there's other things that you mentioned you do in
Oh,
terms of
yeah.
support.
Definitely. So to find me, definitely go to asjlawoffice.com. Definitely on Instagram, LinkedIn, it's all ASJ Law Office. I kind of changed the way I looked at law. I don't know if you could tell by this entire conversation. I realized that
Yeah,
people
definitely.
need like help throughout their like life of litigation, and it's not only like during litigation, but before and after. And, attorneys, we're really expensive. So I also do like subscription services. And everyone, like my colleagues who are like hourly retained attorneys, they just can't believe it. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, because I don't feel like we need to have clients come in, sign a retainer, pay $10,000 for what? Like, most of these problems can be resolved pretty quickly and they need resources. We don't have enough resources. Um, so I do offer that. That's like a big thing for me in my practice is that, let me help you throughout your life of litigation or outside of litigation. Stay out of court. And if I can help you stay out of court or understand court a little bit better, like maybe that will help some families. It's helped thus far. So I'm going to keep doing it. I get great feedback and people continue to come back, not because they want to go to court, but they just want to make sure that they understand, like, okay, what's the process again? Is this actually a case? Like, and then they know me. Like, it's a subscription. We are subscribed to so many things in life. Like, they like the idea, like, oh, I have a question. I know how to reach an attorney. I don't have to, Google and do 20 consults. I could just get back to the attorney I know. And I don't need to pay her $5,000 just to speak to her. So,
Nice.
yeah, so I do that. So definitely I encourage people to check it out. It's definitely something that parents need. It's more putting the family back in control of their life.
Love it. All right. Well,
Absolutely.
thank you so much, Asia, for coming back. And I am sure I will see you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Lisa.
Okay. Take care.